Marvel Studios' Black Panther Wakanda Forever introduced us to many new characters, one of which being Namor the Submariner. And this was, of course, our villain of the movie, or I guess more so I should say antagonist, because, he did some pretty villainous stuff here. He killed people. I won't go into spoilers, but, he killed people. He was a villain. But at the same time, he had a reason for doing everything that he was doing. He was doing it for his people. He was doing it for his nation of Talokan. And by the end of this movie, I guess, actually, yeah, spoilers for Black Panther Wakanda Forever if you haven't seen it yet. But by the end of this movie, he is, of course, still alive, so that's good they didn't kill him off. That's a great start right there. But then on top of that, we get this ending scene, which is clearly setting up for something else in the future, where he's talking about, now that they're allies with Wakanda, that when the surface world comes for Wakanda, Talokan is the only people that they'll be able to turn to. So that's something I feel like they're most likely setting up for Black Panther 3. But just the introduction of this character in this nation of Talokan, I feel like there's potential for even more than just to be more supporting characters in another Black Panther movie. This could get its own project on its own, and we've even talked about this before, about the idea of a Namor solo project, whether that's a theatrical release movie or possibly even a Namor Disney Plus series. And Kevin Feige, I believe, was actually asked about this pretty recently about, hey, what do you think about the idea of could we get a Namor spin-off project on Disney Plus? And he basically said, the classic answer he always says, well, we'll see how this one does, and if you guys want it, then, maybe not. So it is possible. It is very possible. Then again, there's a lot of MCU projects that are in development. I don't know how they'd squeeze another one in there somewhere. But Namor, I think, really could work getting his own project, because I loved him in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. But imagine getting a whole story just dedicated to him. I think that would be amazing, because one of my major complaints with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, if you watched my non-spoiler review, and also watch my spoiler review as well, is that when you get to actually see Talokan, yes, it is beautiful, but it's so dark. And yes, that is realistic, because it's the bottom of the ocean, of course it's going to be dark. But at the same time, it takes me back to Aquaman, and obviously that's the big comparison here. Aquaman, Namor, people were worried, this is just going to be Marvel's Aquaman. But I like the way that Atlantis was done in Aquaman better than it was here. Because, of course, Talokan, it's Atlantis just with a different name, just because they wanted to differentiate themselves from Aquaman and DC. So there's a couple differences here, again, which I talked about in my reviews. But first of all, Aquaman shot dry for wet. So that means they actually shot the underwater scenes, not with water, just use CGI later to make it look like their hair was flowing. Whereas Marvel, for Namor and all the Talokan scenes, those were shot in an actual water tank, which definitely isn't bad, but I definitely prefer the way it was done in Aquaman. And then also, again, the fact that, Aquaman, Atlantis was beautiful. It was bright, it was colorful, it was just one of the best things to look at. And here, Talokan was, again, it was just dark, and there were a lot of scenes where you couldn't even see what was going on. So hopefully, maybe if we got a Disney Plus series or movie focused on Namor, we could explore this city, this nation even more, and possibly even get to see some prettier, better to see aspects of it as well. Now, what would it be about, though? Because Namor was the villain of Black Panther 2, so who would be Namor's villain? Because, of course, in the comics, Namor is he's a very gray character. Sometimes a hero, sometimes a villain, sometimes an anti-hero. Really, whatever is best for his people, that's what he's going to do. And I saw one theory somewhere. I don't remember where I first read it. I wish I could give credit to where I first saw it. But it was basically that, given Namor's decision at the end of this film to basically make a truce with Wakanda and just give in and, yield like he did during his battle with Shuri, that could create some conflict within his kingdom. We have, of course, in this movie, Namor's kind of two henchmen, or at least two main henchmen, were Attuma and Namor. Now, in the comics, Namor is his cousin. They're pretty equally aligned. But even at the end of this film, in that final scene between those two, she herself is questioning, how could you just yield to Wakanda? How could you show mercy like that? Blah, blah, blah. How could you let the Black Panther beat you? And this kind of got me thinking about Attuma, because Attuma in the comics is a full-blown villain. You do not see that at all in this movie. Attuma is just Namor's general for the most part. He's just his right-hand man pretty much, which was cool, but it would make so much sense if, just like in the comics, Attuma starts thinking like, hey, this Namor guy, he made the wrong decision. He is not fit to be our ruler. We need a little bit of a change in leadership here. I should be the new king of Atlantis. So there might be a challenge for the throne type thing, and I think that could be pretty cool. And is something I would honestly love to see explored in the story, and would kind of, work as an in-between story between Black Panther Wakanda Forever and Black Panther 3, because I doubt we're going to be getting that movie anytime soon. But I think this would be awesome. I think a whole project dedicated to Namor and Talokan, having Namor versus Attuma, I think will be really, really awesome. And I hope this is something that we end up getting. Again, just like Kevin Feige said, it is a wait and see how Wakanda Forever performs. And if it does, if everybody loves Namor, which so far seems like everybody does, most people are saying Namor is their favorite part of the film. So I think it'd be pretty awesome. But guys, definitely let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. What do you think about the idea of getting a Namor spin-off project in the MCU? Would you want it to be a theatrical release movie, or a Disney Plus series, or possibly maybe even a special presentation on Disney Plus? But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I can keep it up to date on everything goes on in the Marvel life.